Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Todd Coombs, and on this channel we do all kinds of things photography. We're going to talk about one of my favorite cameras of all time today, and that is the Fuji X100. This happens to be the X100VI. I jumped into this line of cameras with the V, X100V. It was the predecessor to this one, but it quickly became one of my favorite cameras that I've ever owned. It's just one of those cameras that kind of motivates you to go out and create beautiful pictures. And I've talked about this before on the channel. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's only one lens. You've got a 23mm f2 and you can't change that. They do make attachments to make it a little wider, and then they've got another one that makes it a little bit more of a telephoto lens. I have avoided those just because the one lens is kind of a plus to me. I like that. It motivates me to get in and get back and look for different angles, and it has just been a camera that has motivated me to look at photography differently and create better pictures in a different way than I normally do. So for that reason, I have just loved this camera. So the big question, and if you've read the title of this video, you know what I want to talk about. Is this camera worth getting a year after it came out? This came out about a year ago, February, March, something like that of 2024. We're now going into late February 2025. And it's a very difficult camera to get. There was a waiting list from day one. The X100V before it was a difficult camera to get. It became very, very popular, and you just couldn't get them. And you got on these waiting lists and you waited forever, and eventually the camera store would have them. And that's the case with this camera. I was fortunate enough to be number 4 on the waiting list. I signed up on day 1, and I was number 4 on the list, and when one came in, I grabbed it. So I'm humbled and privileged to know that I'm one of the people that owns one of these things, because I know a lot of people are out there wanting to get one. And I want to answer the question today if it's worth still waiting to get one. Now, I think you know, if you watch this channel at all, that I love this camera, and I'm going to say, yes, it's a wonderful camera. You should get one. Is it worth the wait? That's the question. Now, I'm not going to get into all the specs and all the stuff. It's 40 megapixels. This one has in-body stabilization. The V did not. The V, which was the predecessor to this, had 26 megapixels. I loved that camera. I fell in love with that camera when I first got it. I upgraded because I figured the new one was going to be so much better, you know, and I wasn't sure if it'd be better, but I thought, you know, it's a step up. That's why I got the 6. I haven't really noticed a huge difference. To be honest with you, going from the V to the VI felt like I was using the exact same camera. Now, 40 megapixels is kind of nice. However, 26 megapixels for most of the stuff that I do is plenty. I don't know that I needed 40. The in-body stabilization, that's the other big upgrade to the 6. For what I do with it, I don't know if that's a big advantage or not. There might be some times when I get down to a 30th of a second, 15th of a second, and that in-body stabilization saves an image, maybe. I don't know. I think it's probably a small percentage of the images I take with this camera, at least for me. Because what I do with this camera is I use it as a go-anywhere camera. I mean, if I'm going to just pick up a camera and go, I want to be able to take high-quality images without taking a whole bunch of gear. So that's what the X100 is to me. It's also a great travel camera. Same kind of thing. I don't want to take a whole bunch of big, bulky lenses and a bunch of camera gear when I'm traveling. Now, maybe if I'm going on some kind of road trip specifically for photography purposes, then I'm going to take more gear. But if it's just a weekend getaway with my wife to the beach and we're going to just kind of walk around, you know, some town, you know, I still want to have a high quality camera, but not a lot of gear. So a take anywhere I go travel camera is what this is a lot for me. It is high quality enough that I'm taking stock photographs when I'm traveling to these locations, and anything else I want to do art-wise, it's going to meet the need for that. One of the things that is so phenomenal with this camera, you know, in my workflow, but I don't know if it meets the need for everybody, is the fact that it has a leaf shutter in it. Now, what a leaf shutter is the shutter itself is in the lens, not in the camera body. What a leaf shutter allows you to do is sync with flash at any shutter speed. You're not bound to a sync speed, or you're not, you know, forced to put your flash into high-speed sync mode. This camera has a shutter speed of 4000. You can sync at that shutter speed without going into high-speed sync, and that's a huge deal. Now, maybe for a lot of people that are not using flash photography with their X100, they don't care. But for me, I take this camera to weddings. Phenomenal wedding camera, in my humble opinion. It is the documentary, photojournalistic, quick and easy, you know, document the day type of a camera, but I can also sync it with my flash at these high sync speeds and get amazing images that are not impossible to do with other cameras, but a little easier to do because this has got the leaf shutter. Now, earlier in the video, I compared this camera to the X100V because part of what I'm thinking when it comes to answering the question, is it worth the wait to get this camera as opposed to a competitor's camera, a Sony a6700, for instance. Nikon has a Z30, I think, which maybe kind of falls in this line. I don't know. But if you can't get an X100VI, but you can get an X100V, there's part of me that thinks the X100V is a very good route to go. So if you can get a good deal on those, obviously they're not making them anymore, they're making the 6. The V was a fabulous camera. Really, really liked it. So if you can get a used one at a decent price, that's not been, you know, 400,000 shutter count or something, I don't know. But if you could get a good one of those, the V was a fantastic camera. I sold mine when I got this because it didn't make sense to me to have both. My hands kind of shook as I passed it off and sold it because I really liked the V. I don't regret keeping this one necessarily, but I was very happy with the V. So for what that's worth, if you can find a V, maybe that's the way to go. Is the 6 worth waiting for? Yes, just because it is such a fantastic camera. Now, one of the questions I would have if I ever had a Fuji rep in front of me is, why can they not make enough of these cameras to fulfill the supply and demand issues? That's amazing to me. I mean, they saw it coming and it's still a problem, and it has been a problem since day one. But it's worth the wait, I think. It's a neat little camera. It's a fabulous little camera. I think it pushes you creatively, and I would say it's worth the wait. Stay on the list. Keep at it. You'll love it when you get it. Okay, for what that's worth, that's one guy's opinion. You could ask 10 other photographers. They'd probably give you 10 other opinions about what they think about this particular camera, if it's worth the wait, if there's something out there better. I don't know. For $15.99, that's what this camera is going for. It's not a cheap camera, but it's not a super expensive camera. If you've got $9,000, buy a Leica. But it's in terms of an affordable, high quality, amazing little camera, this one is built nice. I mean, it's solid. It doesn't feel cheap in the least. It's worth the wait, and I would highly encourage you to do that. If you got questions about it, let me know. If you got comments, let me know that too. I appreciate it. And for those of you on the waiting list, hang in there. Yeah, it's worth the wait. I think you'll like the camera. The film simulations, the ease of use, all that. The other thing that happens with this camera, which is amazing, but be prepared. When people see you with this camera, they're going to come up to you and ask you about it, I promise you. If I take it to a wedding, I get several people that will come up and say, oh, what is that camera? They always think it's film. That's usually the first question. Is that a film camera? And then they're just fascinated that it's not, and they want to know all about it. So be prepared to answer some questions. But yeah, if you've got one of these cameras, X100 at any level, leave me a comment. I want to know what you think about it, and I would appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, think about subscribing. Leave me a thumbs up if you would. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next video.